Okay, students, today I'm going to show you how to structure your HTML page with semantic HTML tags, and then we're going to link a style sheet and we're going to add some simple styles. So the goal of this video is just to give you a reference for how to structure the HTML and then how to link the style sheet and just a couple of very basic styles. Okay, so this is the Zen Garden, and we've gone over a few times. This is the basic building blocks of HTML. There's the doc type declaration at the very top where it says Open HTML. This is the Open HTML tag, and we know we start the document with Open HTML and we end it with Close HTML. This is a close tag. Then the HTML document has two components: the head, which is up here, and the body. And the body is where you put all of the content. So I have pasted in the Zen Garden text, and I've already put the P's in there, so at least we have some P's to go with. Oops, sorry. Okay. The head is where you put things that the browser uses but that the user doesn't necessarily interact with. So here we have the meta char set UTF-8, which, as we know, means use American English character sets. And then we have the title. I'm calling this Zen Garden structure. This title goes actually in the tab in the browser. It's not actually on the page itself. Okay, and then we have the body. And right now, the only thing we have going on in the body is a bunch of paragraphs. So if we were to take this and style it, the only tags that we would have to work with are P, we have plenty of P's, and body. And I've set up this style sheet already. I just put the body in here. So I created a new style sheet. I saved it as zen.css. I put @charset equal UTF-8 at the top, and then I just started body. But what we want to be able to do here, we can do things like change the body background color, for example. But what we want to do here is we want to be able to style this thing here, which looks like the title or the banner. We want to style that differently from this, which looks like a menu or a navigation, differently from this, which looks like the article. And so one of the ways that HTML solved the problem of having very specific styles for specific sections is they developed a series of what they call semantic tags. And these are tags that have actual meaning. So let me go to my W3 Schools window. I'll show you what I mean. So W3 Schools is an excellent tutorial site for and reference site for HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and just about any other web technology. And these are the semantic elements. And basically what it says, the semantic element describes its meaning to both the browser and the developer. It also describes its meaning to the search engines. So some of the semantic elements include form, table, article, header, nav. So if the search engine comes in and finds the header tag, it knows that what's inside of there is probably the banner element, the stuff at the top of the frame. And they know to assign a certain value to it. So the semantic elements are tags that are designed to be used around parts of your document that they refer to. So article, a big piece of text; aside, that could be something like a pull quote; figure caption; footer, header; main, nav, section, summary. Okay, and here's an example of how it might look like. What the use of the semantic tags forces you to do is to structure your document. So you say, this is the header, this is the nav, this is the section, this is the article, this is the aside, this is the footer. And notice how everything is in a nice little box. And we've spoken before how HTML and CSS are the box model. That's because every time you use these tags to define a section of your document, you're putting it into a box. And the benefit of the box is that you can style the header box differently from the nav box. And the benefit of using the semantic tags is that when the search engines look at your page. They can discover what part is the header, what part is the nav, what part is the footer, and it can score your page accordingly. Now there are some tags that are called generic tags that are non-semantic tags, and we're going to eventually use them. One is called div. Div is for any large block of text, and one is called span. Span is often used, so for example, if you have a paragraph and you have a word or a phrase that you want to bold, you can use span for that. But it doesn't really mean anything, div and span. They're generic. They just make boxes, and you have to give them names. All right, but article, header, footer, nav, those are all important semantic tags that we're going to use in the Zen Garden. Now, if you scroll down here, it talks about the use of all the different semantic tags. Okay, article element specifies independent, self-contained content. It should make sense of its own. A forum post, a blog post, a newspaper article. Okay, so you get the idea. All right, so we're going to use in our Zen Garden, where's that diagram? Here it is. We're going to use the header, the nav, the footer, and then we're just going to use the article in here. Okay. So I'm going to go back to my HTML, and I'm going to put in those semantic tags. So the first thing I'm going to use is header. And I'm going to put this is the title of the page, so I'm going to put that inside of the header tags. Sorry. So I'm going to open the header tag, and then I'm going to go and close the header tag. The next one is the navigation. So this home, W3 Schools, Zen Garden, Design Code Wrap, those are all links. So this is actually a menu. So the tag we use here is called nav. And you can have multiple menus on your page. There's ways to differentiate one nav from another nav. But the tag, the nav tag, again tells the search engine that here's a menu. Okay, now the main part of this, from the Road to Enlightenment all the way down to the bottom, but not where it says Copyright Zen Garden. This is the article. This is the main text of our Zen Garden piece. So I'm going to put all of this inside of the article tag. So I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to open the article tag here before the Road to Enlightenment, and I'm going to scroll down to after the close P, but before the Zen Garden Simplified. I'm going to close the article tag. And then this part of the Zen Garden content, this is the footer. This is the stuff that appears at the bottom. We have a very simple at Copyright Zen Garden Simplified, but sometimes, organizations, they put a lot of different kinds of information into the footer. But for now, we have a very simple structure: header, nav, article, and footer. Okay, so I'm going to save this. And because I'm in Sublime Text, the way I'm going to preview it is I'm going to go to the browser. I'm going to go to Safari. And inside Safari, I'm going to say File, Open, File. And I'm going to say Please Open. This is in Zen Video. ZenStructure.html. Oh, and there it is. So not very exciting. We don't have any styles associated with it, but we can see that our text is in paragraphs, and we can see that the text that is not in paragraph, so up here the header and the nav, there's no P's there, it's just header and nav. We can still see that they're separate. They're on separate lines. Now let me show you something. I'm in Safari. Okay, yes. So you can do this in Safari and in Chrome. I have to warn you though, in Safari, you have to set a preference to show the developer tools. So I have this little menu called Develop. It should be where Preferences. Let's see if it's Show Develop Menu in Menu Bar. So I'm in Advanced, I'm in Preferences, Advanced, and then you have to check Show Develop Menu in Menu Bar. So this is Safari. In Chrome, it's there automatically. So under Develop, I can say Show Web Inspector. Okay, and it's going to show me here the structure of my HTML. And I should be able to, where's my pointer? Oh, okay. So in Chrome, there's actually a pointer where if you roll over the page, is this it? No. Well, darn, I can't find it here. Graphics, timeline, sources, network elements, breakpoints disabled. I always use Chrome. I don't know why I decided to use, okay. All right, console. All right, well, at any rate, I guess I can just show you, here's elements. Okay, this is maybe what yes, this is what we want. Thank you, sorry, I was in the wrong place. So I'm in elements. Okay, and we can see the structure. Here's HTML. This is the head, which doesn't have anything in it that we can see on the page. Here's the body. Here's the header. Notice how it highlights the header area. The nav, the article, the footer. And if we open up the article, there's individual P's. We can go in there and highlight individual P's. And that's just to show you that the browser recognizes where different style elements live. And it will also tell you what kind of styles are associated with that over here. We don't really have any, we haven't assigned any styles to any of these. So here where it says body, display block, margin top, 8 pixels, that's kind of the default for Safari. And a lot of times designers will go in later in CSS and set like the margin top to 0. So there's no gap, this little gap here between the top of the content and the top of the page. Okay, anyhow, that's just to show you. Okay, now let's style up our little boxes. So I'm going to make a CSS. I've already made a CSS. Here it is. I've only put the body tag in here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put all of my semantic tags in there so I can style them. So I have header, nav, article, and footer. So I'm going to put them in the order that they appear in the HTML document. I don't have to do that, but it makes it easier to style. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to say header. So when you define a style for a tag, you type the name of the tag, like nav, and then you put in the open and close curly braces. And both Dreamweaver and Sublime Text, once you hit the open curly brace, it also gives you the closed one. So just hit return a couple times. So body, header, nav, article, and footer. Okay, so I'm going to do something very simple. I'm just going to use some named colors to change the background colors of these boxes. Then maybe I'll add some fonts and maybe some padding, and that might be what we do. Okay, so just to show you how this works, again, body, I'm going to use the background color property. Now, Sublime Text, like Dreamweaver, has a nice little code hint, so I can see if I type background, it gives me a whole bunch of background properties, some of which we're going to use. So, but today what I want is background dash color. And if I click it from the menu, it will automatically fill it in and then give me the colon. Now I have to type the value, meaning what color do I want it to be. So on Dreamweaver, it'll give you a nice color picker, but unfortunately Sublime Text does not do that. So to choose your color, you can go to Adobe Color and find a color palette there that you like. But for now, just for simplicity's sake, I'm going to use, I'm just going to type in some named colors that I know. So I'm going to make the body, let's say dark gray. I happen to know that that's a named color. Now the header, the background color, is the property. I'm going to make it yellow, or maybe yeah, yellow. And the nav, the background color, I'm going to make it corn silk, which I know is a color. And the article, the background color, I'm going to make it antique white. Okay, so I know that these are named colors. If you want to find the named colors, you can go to W3 Schools. Let me type in named colors CSS. Oh, look, color names. Here we go. And here's the colors. And for the footer, let's do corn silk again. Or maybe yellow. Background, color, yellow. Okay, so I'm just going to put the background colors in for now. So I should have, my body should be dark gray, my header should be yellow, my nav is corn silk, my article is antique white, this might be too close together, and the footer is yellow. So let's see what it looks like. Now, since I've opened this page already in, let me close this, Safari, all I have to do, since it's already loaded here, all I have to do is hit the reload button. Oh look, nothing happened. Why did nothing happen? I don't have my colors. Well, the reason why I don't have my colors is, although I made my CSS, and here's my HTML, I failed to link the CSS to the HTML. So this is what I'm going to do now. I'm going to do it. I'm going to show you how to do it, and this is something that you just need to memorize, but if you forget how to do it, you can Google how to link CSS to HTML. So I'm in the head. I'm going to go after the title, and the tag I'm using here is called link, L-I-N-K, and then I have to put 3 elements after it. So the first one is href, which means hypertextual reference, which means where is this file located. Remember, in HTML, everything is linked to the HTML file, nothing is embedded. So I have to give it the path to my CSS. So if I do this, in Dreamweaver, I'll get a browse button. But here in Sublime Text, I have to go look and double check. Go look in my folder. There it is. Here's my folder. And it's called zen.css. Notice there's no capitals, no spaces, just zen.css. And because it's in the same folder, I can just type in zen.css. And this is one of the reasons why you want to put everything in the same folder, so that it's easy to link everything to the HTML. And then when you go to publish it on the web, everything must be in the same folder. Okay, so there's 2 more things I'm going to put here. So it's link href equals zen.css. Notice that zen.css is in quotes. And then it's rel, which I think means relevance. Rel equals style sheet. And then type equal, these are called attributes, text/CSS. Yeah, it's really too bad that Sublime Text doesn't offer the same level of code hinting as Dreamweaver, but perhaps in their next release. All right, so this is the link to the style sheet. It is one of those tags that does not have a closing tag. There's no closing link. So it's link href equal quote zen.css. That's the location and name of your file. Rel equal quote style sheet. Type equals quote text/CSS. And now, if I go to my browser and I hit reload, oh my goodness! So there's my styles, right, with my color. I can see my styles and my color. Okay, let's do just a couple other things to style this up. I'm going to change the font. I'm going to add a little, and the font size. I'm going to add a little padding, and then I'm going to put this all into a main tag, and we'll see how that works. Okay, so I'm going to work in the CSS for a little bit. So I'm going to assign different font faces. I'm going to assign one font face to the header, nav, and footer. I'm going to assign a second font face to article. And then I'm going to change the sizes, and I'm going to add padding. So in Sublime Text, you can say the property is font-family, colon. Now, unfortunately here in Sublime Text, it wants you to type in the font family, which is a total pain in the butt. In Dreamweaver, they have a menu that you can choose from. So what I'm going to do, I have in my folder, I have put a list of font families, so I don't have to type them in. And I know for the header and the footer and the nav, I'm going to use sans serif. So I'm going to use this one, Gotham Helvetica New Helvetica Arial sans serif. Okay. Oop. There we go. All right. Now I'm just going to copy this. Oops, sorry. Copy. And I'm going to paste it into the nav. And then I'm going to paste it into the footer because I want them to be the same fonts. Okay, now I'm going to put a serif font into the article, and we'll just do the first one. And remember, we've mentioned this a couple times in class. The reason why there are multiple font family. The reason why there are multiple fonts listed here is because for these fonts, it's looking for them on the user's computer. So here, it's going to look for Gotham. And if the user's computer has Gotham, it will use that. But if not, then it's going to use Helvetica New. And if it doesn't have that, then it's going to use Helvetica. And if it doesn't have that, it'll use Arial. And if it doesn't have that, it'll use the generic sans serif. Most of them at least have Arial, so usually you don't get down to here, but you never know. These groups of fonts are commonly occurring on a computer. We're going to learn how to insert Google Fonts, which allows you to use some fancy fonts, but you have to do that a different way. Same thing here with the article. Okay, I'm going to go reload my page. Oh, very good. Now I'm going to do two things. I'm going to make the sans serif fonts are going to be bold, and I'm going to change the size. Okay, so for the header, I accidentally got rid of that. I didn't mean to. Okay, so I'm going to say font size, and there's a few ways to specify font size. We want to use relative measurements. So for now, let's use M's, EMs. And here's the rule. 1M is the default font size for the computer, or for the browser really, and the device. And then you measure other things in units of M. So 3M is 3 times the size of the default font size. So that's what I'm going to use here. I'm going to say 3M. Now notice it's the number 3 followed by the letters EM, and there are no spaces. So that means 3 times the regular size of the font. So I'm going to make nav a little smaller, but still bigger than the regular font size. That's going to be 2M. Thank you for trying Sublime Text. Would you like to purchase a license now? No. So Sublime Text will do that sometimes. You don't have to pay them anything. For article, I'm going to use 1M. And technically, I shouldn't have to specify this. It should be 1M, but it's probably good practice just to do it. The footer, I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. I'm going to make it smaller than 1M. I'm going to make it 0.75M. And so you can do fractions of an M. You can do 1.25, 2.7, 3.84. You can, basically use whatever you want. Okay, one more thing I'm going to do here before we look at it. And I'm going quickly through this because I know we've done this a couple times already. I'm going to say font weight, bold. Okay, there's really only two font weights when you're using these computer fonts, bold and normal. So the default is normal. I don't have to specify it here in the article. I don't want the article text to be bold. I want the nav to be bold, font weight, bold, and I want the header to be bold, font weight, bold. Okay, let's look at it. I'm back here in Safari. Oh, much better. So here we have at the top, we have 3M, 2M, 1M, 0.75M. Okay, the next thing I'm going to add is padding, and padding goes back to the box model. So we can clearly see here our boxes, right? We can see the header box, see the nav box, see the article box, see the footer box. Every box has four components. It has the content, which in this case is the text CSS Zen Garden Simplified. And then it has the area between the edge of the content and the edge of the box. That area is called padding. We're going to add some padding because we don't want our text to be butt up against the edge of anything. Then around the edge of the box, we have the border. You can put borders around all of your boxes and you can specify the styling. Between two boxes, like between here, the header and the nav, is called the margin. You can play with that a little bit too. We're going to do that another time. So right now, I'm just going to add padding 1% to each of my boxes, and that should make them look really nice and consistent. So let me show you how padding works. I'm in the CSS. I'm going to say padding. Ooh, sorry. Padding. Now notice when I say padding, I have some options here. I have padding, padding bottom, padding left, padding top, or padding right. So if I say padding, it's going to put padding all the way around the box, which is what I want right now. For now, that's what I want. Sometimes though, you just want padding on the bottom. You can say padding on the bottom. Sometimes you just want it on the top. You can just say padding top. So I'm just going to say padding, and I'm going to say 1%. And I'm going to basically put this in all my boxes. And you'll see it's going to very nicely bring the design together. Okay, so I put padding. Now I'm going to, ooh, look at that. Very nice. Now one thing I did, these are two different colors. This is antique white and this is corn silk. I probably should have chosen a different color here because there's just not enough contrast, but I'm not going to worry about it yet. But you can see how the padding 1%, it brings all the boxes together and makes them look really nice. Okay, the last thing that we're going to do here with basic HTML structuring and CSS is we're going to put all of our content into another box. Why? Because by default, first of all, by default, all the boxes, they stack one on top of each other flush left. This is called normal document flow. We're going to work with it for a while. But one thing that we can do is we can keep this normal document flow. We can put it in another box. We can limit the width of that box, and we can put it in the center of the browser window, which is usually what you want to do. Okay, but to do that, we have to come up with a tag that will contain everything from the header down to the footer. And fortunately, there is a semantic tag we can use for that. It's called main. So I'm going to go back to my HTML for a moment. Now in the olden days, we didn't have the main tag. We used something called div ID equal container, or div ID equal wrapper. They were called the container div or the wrapper div. Don't worry about it. I mean, you may see that. All right, so I'm going to put main. Now this is the box that contains all the boxes. So first of all, it goes before the header, but after the body, because the body contains all the content. So we're going to put everything into main. Then we're going to go down to the bottom. Okay, and we're going to close main after footer, but before body or close HTML. Okay, so we're just going to have one box. And since we haven't styled it or anything, if we reload our page, we're not going to see anything different. Right, Okay, now I'm going to go to the CSS and I'm going to style main. So main is at the top after the body and before the header. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to limit the width. And because main is the box, the first box after body, I'm going to give it a percentage. I'm going to say width, and I'll give it a percentage, let's say 80%. Because it's not inside any other box except for the body, and the body is the browser window, this is going to make the width of the content 80% of the page. So let me show you what I mean. So width 80%. I'm going to come back here. Whee! Okay, now we can see that because we put the header, the nav, the article, and the footer into the main, it is indeed 80%, but it's flush left. We want it to be in the middle. Okay, we have one more thing to do. So this is where we're going to play around with kind of a special style, and it works in this case. We're going to say margin, colon, auto. And what auto does sometimes, but in this case it works, it puts the content, it creates an equal amount of space on the left and the right hand side. So it essentially centers the box, but it doesn't work on all boxes, sad to say. All right, so let's try this. Whee! Okay, there you go. So this is the basic setup. From here, you can go on to design. You can put in pictures. You can style them. You can begin to style the navigation. You can add some animation. This is the very basic building block of how the Zen Garden and almost any other page that you work on should be set up. Okay, in our next videos, we'll look at some more complex structures.